Happy New Year, everyone. Welcome back to the channel. I have some things I want to talk about today. It's probably going to be more of a little rant. As the title says, is Nikon dead? I've been seeing a few YouTubers been talking about this new Panasonic camera that came out. It's a great camera. What's it called? The Lumix S5 2 and 2X. Based upon what they've done, the specifications and the performance I've seen from different people testing it, it looks like it's going to be an awesome camera. Now, when people are out there talking about cameras, they talk about Sony, Canon. Nikon seems to be like an afterthought, or even not even a thought. And if someone mentions it, it's like, oh yeah, we're even talking about Nikon here. They don't do anything. And typically these people who are mentioning that are people that usually haven't used Nikon or don't know much about Nikon. I remember Photography put out a video talking about somebody who was going to shoot a wedding for, or wanted to be a client, who said he only wanted to use Sony because Nikon is crap. I believe a lot of the younger generations think that Nikon isn't any good because they've been using the Sony consumer cameras and they've been finding them to be pretty good. I'm not gonna lie, I also now own Sony cameras and the tech on them, image stabilization, autofocusing are pretty great. My pet peeve is image quality, and Nikon, in my opinion, beats Sony. And I think they're better than Canon as well in some respects. The reason why I say that is the color quality. The image quality from Nikon, as far as colors, they look really good. As someone who's been shooting photography, you know that steadying the shot always is going to get you a really good shot. But today we have technology that can help us to steady the camera, and we have to do less work. Big screens on the back, you can see much more. There are a lot of things that have changed. Does that mean that Nikon can't or will not keep up with these trends? Well, based upon the Z9 and what it's been doing, they show that they can do it. They may have lost their way as far as timing and what to do. But I think Sony started the mirrorless thing years ago and they have perfected it to a point where they're pretty much on top when it comes to the tech. When it comes to hardware, I can say ergonomics, not great. I've said this in my past videos. I think Nikon has better ergonomics. Well, I think it does have better ergonomics. Now that I've been using two Sony cameras, they don't fall in the hand as well as the Nikon does. So there are some areas that they could work on to make the camera perfect. But I think Sony has adopted this small form factor and it's working for them, and they don't seem to have any plans of moving away from that. But who knows? But that being said, we know that when you talk about something that professionals use, Sony may be hitting the professional market now, but they're not as widely used as Nikon cameras. Nikon and Canon has been the staple of professional photographers. Now when it comes to video, I think Canon has some experience because they've made video cameras, well, camcorders. So Sony's the only one that, as far as I know, have made a camcorder, so they're not in that space. So yeah, it's going to take a little while for them to kind of catch up and get into that space where everybody else has been kind of taking the technology from their camcorder side, incorporated into their mirrorless side as well. DSLRs are now mirrorless. So to that respect, yep, Nikon is playing catch up. They're great in optics. They're in a lot of different fields when it comes to microscope, things that you use to test your eyes in different areas. And they've bought other companies, and now like at CES, they're showcasing some other products. Would have loved to see more than two lenses being announced. We'll probably, would be overjoyed. Well, I know I would if the Z8 was announced and at least give us a date when it's coming out. Because I'll tell you this, even though I have these two Sony cameras, they're not the most comfortable to work with, but I can balance it out a little bit more because I'm shooting more video now, so I've gotten used to like a different posture in holding the camera. The FX30 works great in my hand. With the handle, I can utilize that to balance it out. So there's some positives that works well for this particular form factor. I wish Nikon would come out with something on that side, but we have to wait and see. It just kind of bugs me when I hear these younger YouTubers talk about Nikon as if it's like a has-been company, or it's never even been anything to begin with. A lot of them have been shooting the last 10 years or so. Well, it's mainly video for them if they use some photography. It's, again, people who are new to this game. I'm in my 50s. I've been shooting cameras for years. Nikon for the last 20 before that. I had Yashica, I've had Minolta, Canon as well in the old days. So, you know, I've shot different brands. I had somebody unsubscribe to my channel the other day because he didn't like the fact that I was going to try Sony. And he mentioned that. I could care less what camera brand you use or what you like. If I'm watching your channel, I like what you're putting out and information about it. Matt Granger, my favorite guy, he's gone from being a Nikon guy to basically shooting Sony, mess around with different bunch of cameras, come right back to Nikon. The one thing we all know, I think, if you're a Nikon user, is that it just works. They've built solid gear for over the years, and the weather sealing is excellent. On the Sony camera, I went on a website, and you know, there's a little asterisk while they have weather sealing, it's at 100% guaranteed. Now, I compare that to my Nikon on the ports and the doors, and you know, the way they close, it just, you know, it's sealed up. The only one that I can say out of the two that seems to be better with the sealed is the A7R5. The FX30 doesn't seem to have that same level. You know, I probably wouldn't take it out in the rain to shoot. It probably can handle some stuff, but I don't have the confidence that it would. My Nikon, I didn't really worry. I know when they say it's weather seal, it's pretty much what they said it is, and it works very well. Sony, because of the multi-interface shoot, which is great. You know, I do have this little microphone that I use on the other camera, the A7R5. I can use it on the FX30 in a pinch. But when you have some electronics in that top area, because I think most of us know once you put a flash on that shot, you take that little cover off, you probably don't even know what the cover is today on your Nikon camera. Or any other camera for that matter. You take that sucker out, put a flash in there, it's kind of annoying to take it out, put it in. You just leave it out. But there's no other electronics in there that if you get some water in it is going to destroy the camera. So there is that. I don't want to make it seem like I'm bashing Sony. If you have a Sony, and most people I've seen talk about it, they do mention the fact that there is an issue with ergonomics. So you use the tech, it works well for what you need to do, but you know that there's some downsides to it. When it comes to Nikon, if people have never used Nikon, they don't even know about this stuff. And a lot of younger people, it's all about the tech. I get it, tech makes your life easier. It's not like the old days when everything was manual. You know, if you shoot film and you develop your own film, that's a whole other world of things. Now when I see people have LUT packs and settings for, what's it called, Lightroom, and they're selling these things, I'm like, it's just a couple of slider looks, you know. I don't understand why people are selling these things, but some people, they just want something they can click on and utilize it, and they will pay the price. I don't knock somebody for making some money somehow. It took us some time to kind of dial that in. So yeah, you'd want to make a little bit from it, but you know, you've gone from being a photographer to a creator, and I guess content creation is where that name came from. Is a lot of these things I see, it's like, these pictures aren't realistic. Even when you are making movies, some of these things look a little bit, I would say, weird to me. But I understand, depending on the movie that you are making, you can make your own lookup table, and you can tweak it to how you want to look for sci-fi, for, you know, whatever mood you're doing for a scary movie or something. That works. I get that. But on the photo side, you know, I like to capture what I see, the moment and what's going on. We all have different styles. I'm not trying to knock anyone on what you do. You do your own thing. That works better for you. When it comes to the gear, if it works for you, it works for you. The main reason why I decided to move from Nikon, and I say move, I'm not like totally like I gave up on Nikon, I haven't. It's the fact that I found something that works for me and that's going to get the job done right now. If Nikon had put out a press release in Christmas time frame, right around that frame before the year was done, and said, hey, this is a camera, it's coming, here's what it has, and so on and so forth, okay, I would have held on to it. I got a special on this camera, kind of, well, I got a deal on it to get the A7R5. And the screen, fantastic, it works well. So yeah, I did make the jump and get all Sony cameras, but I'm on the same channels that a lot of you Nikon guys are watching, because we know that we love our gear. And if I could keep most of it, well, if I could keep the Nikon, I would have kept it. But seeing as I'm traveling around right now, weight is a factor for me. And with these two Canon bodies, well, sorry, Sony bodies, I'm all over the place with my stuff now. Two Sony bodies, including the handle for the FX30 and the lenses, it's about 3 ounces more than my one Nikon and 4 lenses. Oh, I even count the flash. I haven't bought a flash for the Sony because I don't need that right now. But yeah, that was making my load a bit heavier. So there was a trade-off. I had to look at what I needed now for what I'm doing right now. And especially since I'm traveling, it's not like, hey, when I had the house and I had, you know, my cases of Nikon lenses and cameras, 5 bodies and God knows how many lenses, light kit and all that. I can't travel with all that. I had to sell everything and minimize. So now I don't have any Nikon gear. But I tell you this, the one thing I did learn is I can get a mega adapter and I can adapt Sony lens to it. The FX30 is great. I like it, works in a lot of situations. The A7R5 has some really good IBIS stability settings on it, and it shoots 8K. If Nikon comes out with the Z8 and it's basically kicking Sony's butt when it comes to the codecs and all that stuff that's built inside the camera, and the price is good, oh yeah, I'll get that body, get that adapter and slap some Sony lens on it. Why I wouldn't get Nikon lens at this point? Because they're heavy. Bar none, they're heavy. I'm hoping that the Z8 would be lighter, Z6 III, whatever it is, but you know, again, even if that's not the case, I think the body alone would kind of fit into what I need, and all these lenses here can work in that camera. So yeah, that's what I will do. If you own multiple brands of cameras, let's talk about which one is better for you. I'm curious to hear what you think. I have not tried Panasonic. I did see them in a store. I did hold on to the S1H and I liked it and I thought about getting it, but then I watched some videos and, you know, based upon the autofocus, it was like, yeah, maybe we're not right now. Fuji, I have not tried Fuji. I wanted to. I remember I went to the store to buy one and the guy was, I think he was more like a Canon guy. He was trying to push me to the Canon. Plus they didn't have that many of that camera around at the time, so I kind of balked at it. I wasn't getting the feeling that it was all great. Salespeople do that, that's what happens. But Nikon, I love Nikon. I've been using it for the last 20 years. It's a camera brand that I'm comfortable with. I like how everything works on it. And I'm hopeful that they'll come out with something that'll bring me back in soon. But I don't want you guys to think that I'm bashing Nikon just because I went over to Sony. That's not the case, because just like you, I get cranky when I hear people talk about Nikon isn't anything, or it's no good, or, you know, they're dead. It bugs me too. If it bugs you, let me know. Okay, now that that's out, I'm curious to hear what everyone's shooting. It's quite interesting to know the people watching my channel, what they use, what kind of brand they use, what their favorites are. So we can all talk about, you know, what we like and dislike about other brands. It's just like cars. You know, you get in a car forum, some guys that comes on the forum, they love the brand. That's the only thing that they will ever use. There are the people, it doesn't matter what car it is, it's a car. You just use it. Oh, and talking about that, I remember somebody mentioned, well, it's a lot of people who talk about Sony camera, talk about the color science and so on and so forth. And I'm like, what color science? I have both of these cameras. The blue don't look blue. When I look at a Nikon, the image is just like blue. It's right there. It's what it's supposed to be. I've heard that Canon has slightly yellowish and people have to help with that in after post-production and, you know, tweak that. But I don't hear Nikon people talking about doing that. You get the image and it's good. For the video, you know, for me, I wanted 10-bit. The camera doesn't have 10-bit internally. I like how it looks when I put it on a Ninja recorder, so that's why I decided I wanted something that could do it internally, because I like to stop carrying on a Ninja. If I get everything internal, then I don't need a Ninja. Everything works out well for me. So there are reasons why we all do things. One of the Big thing for me on the Nikon is better image quality, better codecs, the autofocus, and the stability. So there you have it. That's my reason for trying out Sony. I don't like the ergonomics, but again, now that I'm filming video, I've learned how to hold it and look at the screen, and that's working out fine. So let me close out here. I'd like to ask you to give the video a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel if you're not already subscribed. I'll see you in the next video.